In today's video, we review a book, How to Get a Distinction at ABRSM. Michael here at Making Music, and today we have a book review for you. We are looking at Robert Kay's How to Get a Distinction at ABRSM. Now, this particular subject is very dear to my heart. As I'm sure I've said before, most of my students always got merits and distinctions, and I'm always keen to learn to see what other people are doing, to see what's working for them, and whether it's the same as mine or whether it's not. As you know, they might not be. There's a million and one ways to play music, and there's a million and one ways to go about it as well, you know. My advice is based on my education, bachelor's degree from Trinity, master's degree from Royal College, and been playing and teaching professionally for over 20 years. I really hope you find something that you like. If you do, please leave me a comment, please subscribe, hit the bell button, you know what to do. And if you don't like it, you know what, that's absolutely fine as well. So let's get into it. So I stumbled across this book, How to Get a Distinction at ABRSM. So that's the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music. I'm sure most of you who are watching this video will know what it's all about. But basically, it's grade examinations from grade 1, which is all the way to grade 8. Grade 8 being obviously the most difficult one. And this book really concentrates on how to get those grades. And you may have seen my video previously on what not to neglect when you are doing your exam, and so I thought this would be good to review this and see if there's any similarities and stuff. Now, I don't know Robert Kay, who's the author, and never seen him before, never met the guy, never spoken to him, so this is completely unbiased, just my opinion. Hopefully, there'll be a lot of similarities, but who knows? We'll wait and see. Now, the book itself is very clearly marked in different sections, and it covers all the sections in an exam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover each one of those, and I'm going to give it a mark as I would in an exam. For those of you who are not familiar with the ABRSM way of doing things, basically you'd normally play 3 pieces. Each one would get 30 marks. For woodwind instruments and brass and what have you, one of those pieces would normally be a study, but still 30 marks available. So basically 3 pieces, all for 30 marks. Then you would have oral tests, which would be 18 marks, and then sight reading and scales with 21 marks each. It's out of 150. To pass, you need 100 marks. If you get 120 or above, that's a merit, or 130 and above, and that's a distinction. So he's focusing really on those very top marks, which I like very much. Right, so straight into the book. The first section that he covers off is sight reading. I know, why would you start with sight reading? It's the worst bit of the exam. Look, everything he says in this particular section, I completely agree with. Look, you can practice sight reading. As I said in my video, please don't neglect this in your next grade exam. You can practice sight reading, so just do it. Do not do what most people do, which is wait a month before the exam and start panicking. I need to do sight reading. I can't do that. No. There's the only reason why you're panicking is because you haven't practiced it enough. And also, why would you, if it's one of your weaknesses, why would you neglect it? So listen, a very, very good section. The only minor criticism I would say is it's very much focused towards pianists, and that's absolutely fine, because I believe that's his instruments. Most of these videos, as I'm a pianist myself, will be focused on piano playing and also woodwind playing, so those my 2 instruments, but a little bit I think he could have mentioned about some of the other instruments in terms of the scales. So for that reason, out of 21, I'm going to give him a mark of 20. So very, very good start there for Mr. Kay on this one. Next section we have is the oral tests. Yes, and this one, again, another dreaded part of the exam for so many people. Mainly because you've got to do a bit of singing. Oh God, shock horror, a bit of singing. Look, again, he mentions pretty much exactly the same thing as I do in my video, is that, look, they're not looking for an opera singer, they're not looking for the next Andrea Bocelli to come along and give them a rendition of anything. No, they just want to make sure you can hear what's being sung back. And if you answer it with confidence, and you get the right answer, you got a lot of marks you can just get. They're the easiest marks to get, basically. He also goes into a lot of detail, breaks down every single grade, and he then gives you what you need to know on each one of them. I do think there's a typo in the cadences for grade 8, so look out for that and let me know if you spot it as well, and leave me a note in the comments below. But yes, look, really, really great, very thorough on this. So I'm out of 18, I'm gonna give them full marks. It gets 18 out of 18 on this one. Okay, on to our scales, and that's gonna be the end of the technical. We'll get on to the exciting pieces after this. So scales. Again, he's absolutely right. Make sure you practice your scales. There's no reason, there's no excuse for not knowing them. He does talk a lot about the speed, the grouping, which I think is very applicable to the majority of the instruments. But again, it's very much focused on pianists. So that's not only the criticism. He does also say, make sure you try every single variable that you might be asked for in the exam. So, for instance, if you have on the piano, again using an example, they may well ask you to play hands separately. Why would they do that? It does happen, so be prepared for that. So I completely agree with them, and I think I mentioned that in my video as well. So again, because of the focus on pianists, other than that, really, really good section. Out of 21, you get another 20. So if we take the 3 sections that we have done so far, your sight reading, oral, and scales, so far, Mr. K has got 58 marks. Not a bad start at all. So it's 90 left to play for. So will he get that distinction that he's looking for? Okay, people, this is it. The main event, what you've all been waiting for, the pieces. Oh yes, let's cover off and see what he says about those. But listen, before we do, I probably should have said this earlier, I'm not going to give away every single little thing that he talks about in the book. I don't think it'd be fair on him. There's a lot of very, very valuable information, and if you want it, you really should buy the book. So I will just cover off a few of those things, which I will have said anyway in my other videos. But other than that, you know, I'll keep most of it high level, so not to give away any spoilers, so to speak. Okay, right, let's get into it. So a lot of very good stuff that I agree with him. A lot of stuff on pitch, which first time he actually mentions another instrument other than the piano. So yeah, talks about that. Completely agree with him on that. On voicing and shaping, very true, very valid points on that. Also things like tempo. Again, there's a suggestion. You don't have to stick to them 100%. Can you make a good performance out of it? That's more important than hitting that metronome mark. There's a few things on here that I'm not quite 100% with. Use of metronomes, I would suggest you could probably use it a little bit more. I wouldn't suggest using it to begin with and then putting it away straight away afterwards. I can see the merits in it, but I think there's probably, you could probably, depending obviously on the piece and depending what you need to do, there's probably a few things that the metronome practice will be very good for, and stuff we'll cover off later in another video, I am sure. Talked about listening. Absolutely, completely agree with him. And he also mentions a particular YouTuber, Alan Chang, I think it is. Yes, Alan Chang. I think I might need to have a look at that. He doesn't recommend him, and I'll have a look and see if I agree, but let's leave that one for now, shall we? Now, one thing I don't quite agree with him on is how to choose your pieces. So if you haven't checked out my video on how to choose your exam pieces, please do so. And it tells you how I would go about picking a program for a grade exam. Now, the basic thing that he says in there is pick the pieces that you're going to enjoy the most, because if you're going to enjoy them, you're going to play them better, and that you're going to get a better mark. Yes, I agree with that, but again, to a point. As I said in my other video, enjoyment is a bit of a spectrum. Some pieces you're always going to enjoy playing, some pieces you're never going to enjoy playing, but most of them sit somewhere in the middle. So you might start off not really enjoying them, but by the time you go to the exam, you really will be enjoying them, because you really learnt it very, very well, and it sounds fantastic. So yeah, also, just by picking the pieces that you enjoy, yeah, does that really going to give you that balanced program? I'm not so sure. I mean, yeah, I think there's more things to consider than that. I mean, but on the whole, it's not the worst way of picking a program. You know, if you're enjoying your pieces, you probably will play them. Play them to a reasonable standard. You also might actually just get bored of them. I don't know. There's too many variables. I think it's a bit too simplistic to say pick the ones you enjoy the most. He also mentions that some people pick the ones which sound the easiest, and he says that no, they are all the same standard. I beg to differ on that one. Again, I've seen some pieces in some exams where I'm going, what, grade 7? This piece? Really? No. And also some for grade 8, you're going, really? This is a grade 8 piece? I didn't play this until I went to college, for goodness sake. So, you know, it's all relative at the end of the day. Some pieces are going to be harder. Sometimes I've put some pieces in there which are harder, but they wouldn't expect to play them to the same standard as if you are, as if you were a college student, or whether you're, you know, a grade 8 student. So, not quite agreeing with it. They're all of the same. It's quite as easy as each other, and also different players are going to find different pieces easier than others depending on what their strengths are. So not 100% on his choosing of that. For that reason, I'm still giving, out of 30, I realise there's only, you know, should actually be 3 pieces, but I'm going to basically give him a mark and times it by 3. So out of 30, I'm giving him 24, which, if I believe my maths is correct, that gives him 72 marks for the pieces out of possible 90. So very respectable grading there as well. So if we add up all of those marks, what do we get? So we gave 20 for the sight reading, 18 full marks for the oral, 20 for the scales, and for the combined pieces, 72, giving us a total of 130. So, Mr. Robert K, you get your distinction. Well done, you. Really, really good. Look, in conclusion, I really thought there's a lot of very, very valuable information, and to be honest with you, I agree with 95% of everything he said in the book. So yeah, we're definitely on the same wavelength on a lot of this. If I have to be super critical, you know, there's those few bits and pieces I mentioned, we don't quite see eye to eye on picking the program, which is fine. There's so many different ways of doing it. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just roll the dice. Probably not a good idea. But then some people are so lucky that maybe they get a good program from that point of view anyway. Oh, one more other thing is he never really mentions the alternative pieces, which I think would be good to touch on. And if I had to be again super critical, I would say you can probably talk a little bit more at the end about preparing for the exam, to performance practice, if you want to call it that. He does mention, it gives a really good tip about a little picture. I really like it. A bit Hollywood, but still, if it works for you, great. But I do think he could have mentioned a little bit about preparation for the exam. He just says, go and enjoy your exam. It's your exam. Easier said than done, that, to be honest with you. You know, so if you say, go and enjoy yourself. I'm a bit nervous. I don't really want to do this. There could have been a little bit more advice on that. Maybe there's a whole another follow-up book to go on that. But look, the guy's got some really good ideas. He's got some stuff on YouTube as well. He's got his website, so go and check that out. I'm sure I'll be doing that myself at some point. But on the whole, 130, that's the distinction. So fantastic, really good. Available on Amazon, priced I think it's £5.99, £5.99 here in the UK. I'm sure you can get it all over the world, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. A lot of the stuff, you know, we'll be covering off in these videos anyway, but it's a really great way to get everything in one place, concise and good to read. It's not, you know, the most comprehensive book, it's not going to be, but it's really, all the information there is really good. So, thumbs up from me. Listen, that's all from me this time. Thank you so much for watching. As I said before, please leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts. If you've got the book, great to hear what you think as well. Please like the video, even better if you subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.